welcome to this shadow sessions. We got a little ASMR going today, Fran. I got Owen back here and he is purring. Can you hear him?
It's actually really comforting. Like it feels like when somebody's like scratching your back and it really feels good. That's what it feels like inside.
Oh, I'm
Let's
feeling I'm feeling the back scratching too. I can just like feel him radiating through.
let's hear him again.
Oh, now
Oh
he's
no.
getting shy. It
Yeah,
stopped.
I see that. But I you could hear it right before we started. You could hear like you could really hear him.
Yes, yes. I'm sure it'll get going again. He's definitely a little lovey guy. So, Fran, in our session on Wednesday last week, we talked a little bit about
Yes.
control. Have you given any more thought about that conversation?
Yes. Because like I had to sit with it with you and I was just like, wait, let me oh I can hear him. Let me understand what what's going on with her. So I was like, all right, here's the deal. Most people think control means being organized, disciplined, or having a plan. But control is usually something much deeper, right? Control is what we use when we don't feel safe. So, in honestly, what weren't you feeling safe on or in?
Right. Okay, so just for me, for example, on Sundays, I have my Sunday morning routine. I get up every Sunday morning, I sit around for a little bit, I have breakfast, my coffee, I go to Costco. And yesterday, for some
Sounds
reason, I
like
thought,
sounds like a nice Sunday morning.
right? Um, yesterday, I decided I'm going to go to a workout. And there was a spot open in a class, and I went to a workout. Then my daughter and I went and got breakfast. And it was funny because for the first time, I stepped out of my routine, but I still felt okay, which almost shocked me more than anything.
Yeah. Okay. So you stepped out of your routine and you actually felt good about it.
Yeah, which was awesome because in the past, when I've done that, I feel like I
Mm.
did something wrong. Like I'm almost telling myself, but you didn't go to Costco, you didn't get groceries, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. And it's almost like I'm shaming myself.
There it is. Yep. So I totally understand where you're coming from because that happens to a lot of people, even me. Like I shamed myself for wanting to rest the other day. And then I've been battling with the universe or whatever with some other force about resting. And it's like if I don't rest, how do I want to put this? Lately, it feels like I need a lot more rest because of just we're not going to get into it, but what's going on in the world right now? It's just really heavy, right? We all can
Yep,
feel it, whatever.
I've been in the same boat.
See? So I've been being asked to rest my energy and rest my body. And even this has been for the last few months since January. So it's funny when you don't listen and you keep trying to control and you keep trying to control and you keep trying to control, spirit will put you on the bench or your spirit guides, whatever, however you want to call it, will put you on the bench. And that's what I felt like lately for me. This is just specifically for me. But for you, it's showing up a little bit different.
Yeah, for me, like I don't know, it's weird. It's almost like I think I can manipulate my way into feeling better, right? If I
Yeah,
can
that's
control
interesting.
the situation, if I can control the direction of things, I'm
Right.
going to feel good. And once I try to let go of that control, normally I go into panic mode or I go into, oh, I can't think of the word, management, right? I got to control management. Like I have to manage the control. And it's like I'm managing the managing.
You're the manager of the manager of the manager. Can I speak you're above manager? I totally get where you're coming from. It makes sense.
Yeah. Because at what point does it just, I don't know. It's crazy, but I think it comes down to something we've been working on for the last year or so is trying to help me find that safety within so I don't have to manage everything. So I don't have to control to feel good. And I think that was the coolest part about yesterday was just being able to just go with the flow and just surrender to life and be like what
Hmm.
happens going to happen and feeling good about it.
It's so interesting because control comes down to safety, right? So when you're not feeling safe, you then you jump into protection, control. What can I control? And then we go a little deeper with this where we try to control situations and people. See, you're not even doing that. You're just like pulling back from all that. Because you've done a lot of like work. I don't like, we don't like to call it work, but we're going to call it work.
Right.
You've done a lot of work where you're in such deep self-awareness that you get it. You get when you don't feel safe and you're trying now not to control and just go with the flow and not shame yourself, like you said earlier, right?
Right.
You're not shaming yourself. You're like getting into it and saying, well, I shame myself a lot about rest, but you are sitting here and you're not shaming yourself for not doing your routine. So your nice little Sunday morning. See what I'm saying?
You know, one thing too that I got thinking about when I was kind of processing this last night, thinking about my day and how it went. When we're kids, when we're raising kids, when you talk about babies and stuff, they need routine. They
Hmm.
need their comforts because it creates safety for them.
Mm,
And there's different scenarios in life where you can continue using that mentality. But at what point does it become avoidance? At what
there it
point
is.
does it, yeah, become avoiding discomfort instead of allowing life to happen? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because think about it. Yes, you're right. Babies do need routine. Like children need routine. But there's that fine balance of when do we pull back on the routine bit and the controlling bit and start to have a little bit more freedom? Where the hell does that come into play? You see what I'm saying? So
Yep.
it's really interesting when I talk to people and they're like, and this is my life, and then this is where I'm going to be at 45, and then it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. When are you going to allow things just to come in and just be fun or just go with the flow? That's another part. Go with the flow. What the hell does that mean? So we're all confused about what do we let go? What's going with the flow? What's control? What's safety? What's this? We're never taught this. It drives me
Right.
crazy.
Yeah. No, I agree wholeheartedly. And the other thing that's been coming up for me around kind of the same thing is so I've been working on myself, which obviously, I've been creating that safety within. I've been creating all of these mind blowing moments where I'm like, oh, I just learned so much about myself. But when do I start living?
Right.
It's like I'm trying to control the healing instead of,
Hmm.
or control my life too at the same time, instead of just stepping into it, instead of allowing things and taking what I've learned and just becoming the new version of me that I've been working towards.
Yeah. So let's look at it like this, right? Can we agree that when no one knows anything, our life is a little bit out of control?
Oh, yeah.
Like, so that's where we're all starting. Everything that we're learning about ourselves is new. So,
Yep.
because we know something is off,
Yep.
right? So, and I like Carl Jung. I'm a Jungian, whatever you want to call him, but I love the fact that he says from 0 to 40 is all research about yourself. So if we could take the research about what we know of ourselves and sit down and say, okay, wait, okay, I'm trying to control this. I don't feel safe. Da 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 da. Who the hell is doing that? Number one, not a lot of people, right?
Right.
But if we can honestly sit down with ourselves and say, okay, we're not in control. There's the how. There's a control mechanism. How do we get into control? I'm calling myself out because I call you guys out when you guys are like, but how? I'm like, there you guys are controlling everything. But it's in a way, you got to start somewhere, right? You got to be like, all
Right.
right, how do I learn to control this myself, not
Right.
this and other people?
Well, and there's two different sides of control. There's the side where it creates the safety, but then there's the part where now it's created safety, but now you're avoiding allowing. Like there's two different parts of
Yeah.
control. Like when I think of, so I just did this experiment with myself. I did a 30-day challenge of just recording a podcast. And I started off with rules. Okay, I had to record every day. I was going to record for 50 minutes. I wasn't going to re record. but I built that trust up in myself. So by the time I got
Yeah.
to day 15, 16, all of a sudden it was, well, now I see I don't have to record for 15 minutes. Maybe it's 10 minutes today. Maybe it's 12 minutes. Then as I got a little bit further, I started to realize I was forcing myself to talk and I was speaking out of
Mm,
alignment. And so then I was allowing myself to re-record because the message didn't feel aligned. And so I started to see the gradual transition from creating
interesting.
a safe container to avoiding what I'm feeling, avoiding my emotions, avoiding the discomfort or sitting with it. And it kind of came full
Mm,
circle for me through that process. So then I got to see the
yeah.
different sides of, okay, the control started off as a safe container, but it moved to finding alignment after the safety was already created.
So would you say that you had to get a little bit messy?
Yeah, oh, for sure.
And that's the part most people don't want. They don't
Yeah,
want to feel messy. They just don't want, nobody does. Nobody, because
right.
again, in order to gain control, you have to get out of control to get control. I don't know how else to explain it. So, like I said, from 0 to 40 years old, everything is out of whack. But then we have to learn that everything is out of whack. So then we can gain control of ourselves. We're not gaining control of other people's situations, things. We just can't. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
It's not going to work.
yeah. Yeah, I've never thought about the research thing. That's a really cool way to look at it too.
Hmm. Yeah, from 0 to 40, it's just all research. That's it. And then at 40 years old is really when you start to live your life. I think some place in Britain did a study and said you really don't become an adult until your Saturn return, which happens at 29 and a half.
Okay.
Yeah. So you don't become an adult until 29 and a half years old, 30 years old, right? And if that's the case, then you have 10 years to figure everything out between then and 40. So from 0 to 30, we should just be like having fun and just figuring things out as we go. Why
But
does
then you
everything
think
have
of
to
the
be so
pressure that society's, yes. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, 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 I'm cutting you off. But the point is, yes, we
Society's put this pressure on us that we have to have kids and we have to have marriage, we have to have the house, we have to have the job, the career. I mean, I even think of picking your career at 18. When you go to college at 18, you have no clue what you want to do in life. You haven't experienced life, and yet you're like forced to pick today. And then you go to college for 4 years and you accrue, $50 to $100,000 worth of debt. And then what happens in 7 years if you don't like the job?
most people don't at 40.
Right? I know.
Wait, I literally was driving the other day and we were coming back from Long Island. We were in the wineries and I was driving and I thought to myself, it's not a midlife crisis, it's an awakening. You are going through an awakening during your midlife. And you, I actually am writing a post. I'm going to put it out today. You are going through an awakening at 40 years old, between 35 and 45. You are going through your biggest giant awakening and you're waking up to who you truly are. That's it.
Yeah.
So when we have those ideas, like you said earlier, we have to get married, we have to go to college, we have to all of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for people to change.
Yeah.
So no shit that we are trying to control. And we have learned and that's a protection, right?
Mm-hmm.
Controlling is a form of protection.
Yep.
That's all we're doing is trying to protect ourselves. But here's my question from what? What are we actually protecting ourselves from?
Uncertainty.
Okay, and what's so scary about uncertainty?
I'm working on that one. I mean,
No, no, no.
I
This
think
is
about,
great.
yeah, no, I think about like the book thing or the movie thing. If I were to buy a book and read the
Hmm.
last chapter first, would I want to read the rest of the book? Would I want to experience everything she went through or he went through or whatever the storyline is? No, because I already
No.
know how it's going to end. So same thing with life. Why do we want to
Mm.
skip to the last page and know what the ending's going to be without going through all the heartache
That's
and everything to get there?
because we're scared. And I learned something. Remember, I used to say I would die on a hill about pain is the only way to learn.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna pull back on that a little bit. I know, funny. Fran is pulling back on something. Because here's something. Because I was sitting with myself, and I literally was like, is pain? Because I do some philosophical thinking. I wish we could like talk on a podcast about the things I think of because it's like it gets really deep. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so pain, right? Because that's what we're really scared of when it comes to uncertainty, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the
Yep.
pain. Okay, maybe, just maybe, the pain, it doesn't have to hurt because we actually skipped all the times that we were supposed to deal with this situation, whatever. And now it's compounding over time because you decided you didn't want to deal with it for whatever reason. So now and it's time to change, it's so painful to change because you swept it under the rug. And now all this pain is like compiled into one giant pain.
Right.
So you have all these little pains coming down the line in life, right? And you blew past all these red lights when you were supposed to stop and address the pain. Now there's a giant red light where I don't even know what the hell to call it. It's not a red light, but there's a giant like you get divorced or there, talk about midlife. This is where a
You
lot of
hit the
people get divorced.
roadblock, the accident,
There it
the
is.
cliff. Yeah.
There it is. You you
The end of
have
the
to
road.
address it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what happens. So because you're so scared of pain that because of the uncertainty of life, that you just try to control everything you're doing. But in actuality, you come to midlife and this is when you're going to face it all. That's a hill I'll die on.
Yeah.
I
Well,
changed
and
my hill I'll die on. Let's
let
just,
you've got a few mounds, um, but let's talk about those stop signs for a second that they passed. All of those stop signs. It's funny
yeah.
because we've talked about this too. They're your emotions that are coming up. Okay, what am I afraid will happen? I'm afraid I'll be abandoned. I'll be afraid of this. I'll be afraid somebody's gonna leave. Somebody's gonna
Mm-hmm.
get upset. Somebody's not gonna like me. Okay, sit with that, right?
Yeah.
That's the part people are avoiding is
Mm-hmm.
they have all these thoughts, but they don't stop to say, okay, but am I still safe? Even if that friend leaves, am I still
Mm-hmm.
safe?
Right.
Am I
Like,
still me? What, you know, yeah.
and change is even like when you like we're going through a change. Like we're in our 40s, right? I don't mean to call out your age, but
Yeah, no. Yep.
we're changed. Like this is where you face all of that. This is your big monster at the end of the game. But what happens if it doesn't have to be a big monster at the end of the game? What
Right.
happens if we could teach people, younger people, which I'm trying to do, that face your shit now. Face it. Like somebody broke up with you, let's sit with it. Because instead, what did we used to tell our friends when somebody broke up? Oh, it's going to be okay. Let them go. They're an asshole. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever.
Yep.
Why don't we just sit with them? Like you have two girls. Why don't we just sit with
Mm-hmm.
them and have conversations
Yep.
and
How
force
does
them to
that make
face
you
the pain?
feel? Yeah.
Right.
No,
Not force them.
you are so right.
That was such a strong word. I don't want people to think I'm strapping you guys into chairs and making you face pain. That's not what I'm doing.
But you know what? I think I think that's what we need though, right?
Hmm.
I think about the other day when I had my daughter and I were supposed to go to a workout together and she was going to help me with something and she backed out on me and she didn't tell me till 11 o'clock the night before and this was all supposed to happen the next morning. And I was a little upset with her for it because I had planned on all of this. I was crabby and I knew I was crabby, but I wasn't saying, Shannon, you're okay to be crabby. Like, it's okay to feel that way. But instead, I was waiting for somebody else to fix it for me. Instead of me saying it's okay, I was waiting for somebody else to say, you should be upset. You should be crabby. You should be mad. You have a right. Instead, I said it, and next thing I know, I was like, oh, I don't care anymore because it was safe for me to feel that way. It was safe for me to feel abandoned, to feel left, to feel all the things I was feeling. And once I created that safe space for me, all of a sudden, the rest of it was gone. I didn't care anymore. And how long did that take me? 30 seconds of feeling.
Yeah. Because we always want somebody else, because we're trained for don't call out your feelings, don't say anything how you're feeling, don't admit it to yourself, but somebody else should see it because you need
Mm-hmm.
to be seen and heard.
Yes.
But you just hit the nail on the head. You saw and heard yourself.
Yep.
And that's what we're supposed to be doing. I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't be seen or heard by other people. That's not what I'm saying. But
Right.
it's like a drug. It's like, I need somebody to see and hear me. I need somebody to see and hear me. Like, I need somebody to witness what I'm going through right now and talk to me about it.
Mm-hmm.
You're that somebody.
Yep. Yep. And as soon as I validated myself, I was like, oh, yeah, okay. And the grumpiness went away, and yeah, I don't know. And that needing somebody else to fix it for you thing, that was a
Yeah.
huge realization for me. It was like I was just waiting. I knew I was upset. I knew I was crabby, but I was just
Mm.
waiting.
Going back to your point, where as children, as babies and children, we always had our parents doing everything for us. There it is. Again, when do we, I mean, again, I'm not a parent, so, but when do parents or people, or we, I'm gonna say we, forget it, I'm gonna say it. When do we let go and just let people do it on their own and figure it out?
Right?
Why are we scared about other people even figuring it out? Why am I scared of my even my clients or Matt or my friends or family figuring it out on their own?
Yeah.
Because I'm scared that I like they're going to make me unsafe if they don't
Right.
figure it out.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to, and nobody wants to admit it, but I'll admit it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that in myself too. And I think that comes back to something you and I have talked about several times in several sessions. You can't control other people.
Oh,
That's also an illusion. If
mm-hmm.
I behave a certain way, I can make you do something. And Fran, what do we call that?
Control.
Manipulation.
Oh, manipulation. Yeah, it's a form of
I
control.
think I think that was I think the day you told me that was
Yeah.
the most impactful moment. I think that was the one thing you've told me that has stuck with me the most was when you're trying to control somebody else, you're
Mhm.
trying to manipulate them. And I was just like,
You know how many
no,
weird, you know how many
no.
yeah. Do you know how many of those I get when I tell people that? When you're trying to manipulate, okay, let's break it down, right? Because I want people to understand. You
Yeah,
are not wrong for manipulating people, okay? It's not, you're not wrong. So if you're shaming yourself, you have to work with the shame as well.
yeah, yep,
Here's the deal, okay? People pleasing is a form of manipulation. All of that's a form of manipulation because you feel unsafe. When we feel unsafe, we have to protect ourselves. What's the first thing we do when we feel unsafe with somebody? Or we don't want them to leave us? We manipulate them to stay. So we people please
yep,
and people please and people
yep,
please. And then we get to a point where, later in life, we're like, what the fuck? This isn't just, what? Ooh, you start to lose your shit because you're like, oh my God, this isn't it. This doesn't feel right anymore. But you don't want to change because change is uncertainty and change is scary.
yes. If I just knew what the last page of the book was, then I would be okay.
You know, you won't. You'd be bored.
Yep, yep,
But that's what happens. You're not wrong for it. You just need to update your system. You need to it's like, would you still use Windows 95
oh
if
God,
there's
no,
an updated version?
no,
No. So why are you using an old dated version that you've used since you were like 2, 3, 4, 10, 12, 13, 14, 20 years old?
mm-hmm,
So when we talk about control, when we talk about all of this, it just goes back to you just need to update your system.
yeah,
And if you're feeling that, what did you call it earlier? Called it like a stop. Like, what did you call it? Like a block.
a block, yeah, a roadblock,
Yeah. You're feeling a roadblock because you should have dealt with the triggers 10 years ago, but you didn't. And you knew like for me, my ex-husband's a lovely man, don't get me wrong. But I knew I shouldn't have married him. I knew I wasn't going to be happy. Me, it was nothing with him.
Right.
I knew it, but I kept it. Got to get married.
Yep.
Got to do this. Got to do that. And I was having deep paranoid, not paranoid, deep anxiety attacks.
Yep.
So I should have addressed it there, but I didn't. And I blew past that one. I blew past that one, right? And then I just kept going and going until the point where it's like I hit a block and it was my Saturn return. And I'm like, no, I can't do this anymore. And I addressed it.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy. And that's when I started therapy. I started therapy when I was 30.
So people talk about how looking back, you can see all the things that you ignored or the things that you
Mm-hmm.
avoided. And I've had that coming up a lot when you're talking about divorce. Like, there's a lot of things where I look back at thoughts that I've had,
Mm.
and I'm like, I remember thinking to myself this thing, but I ignored it,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's one of the thoughts that I've had a lot was, well, I mean, is there anybody else? I remember thinking that a lot, and
Mm.
I ignored it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's because of the control thing where it was like the image is supposed to be do this, do this, do this, do
Mm-hmm.
this, or if I was so afraid to face being alone that I
Yeah.
tried to just control and manipulate the situation into being what I thought it needed to be.
Maybe it's all the above.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Maybe it's all of those things. It doesn't have
Yep.
to be one thing that, that creates it. It could just be all of them.
Yeah.
I swear, I hear more older women talk about do not get married, do not have kids than anything else lately.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to throw that in there. It just popped in my mind. I was just like, why are women talking about this lately?
Well,
Why
what's
haven't
funny
we
is,
been told this sooner? What?
well, no, I'm gonna piggyback on that for a second.
Yeah.
So, I have always thought for the last 40 some years that,
Hmm.
I'm supposed to get married. I'm supposed to find somebody. Finding somebody is like the most important thing in life.
Mm.
And I had a friend text me Saturday morning and she's like, I want to set you up with somebody. Are you still single? Like, are you seeing anybody? And she's like, let's go to dinner on Thursday night. I'll invite him and all this stuff. And I sent back to her, I was like, I don't know that I want to meet him. I mean, I finally have gotten to a place where I'm comfortable. I
Hmm.
mean, I've enjoyed being on my own for like a month now. Let's be real. I
Mm.
mean, no, it's probably been a little longer than that, but I've really started to enjoy my own company. And if I'm going to break that up, I want it to be organically. I don't want it to be because of a high pressure
Hmm. Right.
situation.
I mean, you're just listening to yourself now. And again, and there's that fine line, right? Am I stopping myself from, am I controlling again? Or
Trying to avoid.
am I trying to avoid? No. This is where these are stop signs. These are
Mm-hmm.
things that you don't blow past. You sit with
Yep.
yourself and you could say, hey, okay, am I avoiding meeting other people right now? Or am I really just loving who I am and want to explore that just a little bit more? There's
Yep.
nothing wrong with being selfish.
Yeah. And that's something that I've been really sitting with because the people pleaser in me is like, oh, do I go to dinner? Do I just to make her happy? Do I go do all of these things? But then there's the part of me that's like, no, no, this isn't what's aligned for you. Don't do it just because it makes somebody else happy. If it's not
Right.
something you truly want, why would you do it? Because I have dated guys to make somebody else happy. People pleasing, control, manipulation. I mean, let's talk about all of that was seen right there in that situation.
Yeah. And it's wild because we don't sit down and why are we so scared of ourselves? That's the first question I want to ask.
Oh,
What's so
yeah.
scary about ourselves? You don't know. It's uncertain. So when you start to question yourself and sit with yourself, it's scary. That's
Yeah.
why most people don't do it.
Right.
So you know, No, okay. The most respected people in the world do not say yes to things they do not want. The word no, and it's very hard for us because we're taught the opposite. Be nice, be nice. If I have
Don't
to
be
fucking
rude.
hear, don't be mean. If I have to hear be nice one more time, sorry if I'm swearing, I'm going to, that's how, like, I'm gonna lose it. Why can't I just say no, thank you, or no, no, no? Even like with people's, I know when people want a free reading, it drives me crazy. And they pretend to be my friend. I cannot stand it. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
So now I say no
Yep.
or book a reading. Oh, when do you have availability? I have a website. I pay a lot of money for a website. Go book a reading. I don't got time for this.
Right.
Because I know you don't want to be my friend. You're just manipulating me.
Yep.
So it always comes back to saying no and protecting your energy. And why do we feel so guilty for saying no?
And I think that's the ticket word there is guilty. It's it's like you said, it's so hard to look at yourself. I think of
Hmm.
the person in my life who's been my biggest mirror, who has taught me so much about myself. When I reflect back on the last 7, 8 years that I've known them,
Mm,
for the first few, I couldn't even tell you what color his eyes were because I couldn't look him in the eye. Because
mm,
it was like looking at myself. It was like looking in a mirror. And I didn't realize that until I started working with you. But I definitely have to say that I didn't realize that's why I couldn't look him in the eye. And I can now, but it's also something I have to be very conscious of because I'm still, even though working on myself and I'm so much more self-aware, I'm still afraid to look at myself at times. I'm afraid of what I'm not seeing. Not afraid of what I might see. I'm afraid of what I'm avoiding, what I'm ignoring. What is it I'm ignoring within myself that I haven't looked at yet?
yeah. And for me, it was like, oh God, I gotta go look at these people, these little energies inside of me. Because for me, I didn't want to face it. I did not. I did not want to see that I was wrong in any way, shape, or form. I'm going to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to see that I was being wrong. I didn't want to see that I was a bad person, perceived as a bad person. Because
Right.
everybody kept telling me growing up, you're sensitive, you're a bad person, you're not nice, you're mean. Yeah, I mean, I could sit here all day and name everything, right? I didn't
Mm-hmm.
want to see why. I didn't want to understand why. But then when I got in there and you finally see all these little energies, you actually feel something I never thought in a million years I'd ever feel. I felt compassion for them because you realize when you're in there how much energy they are holding on to
Right.
from the past.
Right. Well, and I think one of the other impactful things that I've heard is people are only responding from the age of that memory. So
Hmm.
if you have your trauma happen at 4 years old, when
Hmm.
something triggers you with that memory, you're behaving like, or you're responding like a 4 year old would respond.
Yep. Yep.
And once you start to see that or start to understand that, it's so hard not to see somebody and have compassion for them from that perspective too. Like, oh, you had something happen to you and that's why you're behaving this way. That's why you're acting like a 4 year old or a 7 year old or a 14 year old or however old you were at the
Yes.
time.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Because that's where 4D energy comes in, right? Time and space. You realize that you are not the age, right? Something triggers you, you're going back to when that first trigger happened and you had to protect yourself. So let's say somebody breaks up with me. I'm going back to every time my father left
Yep. Or wasn't
or
emotionally available
available.
or,
Yep, all of those things.
yep.
And you don't know which one it really, because I mean, we go through that numerous times, but for me, it was always early age. Like I can remember
Mm-hmm.
all the way back to 2, 3 years old.
Yep.
It's a you turn into that. You're 100% right. You turn into that age, and how
Yeah.
you handled it then. This is why I'm saying, do you still want to work with an outdated system, or do you want to update your system?
Yeah. This was really, really impactful for me. Just a couple weeks ago, I had recorded a podcast for my challenge that I was doing for myself. And before I did it, I had worked with ChatGPT just to make some bullet points on some of the things I wanted to note. And when I got done, I record my transcript into ChatGPT and say, okay, help
Mhm.
me figure out where I'm not taking up space.
Mm.
And ChatGPT said, well, you said this, and technically that's not true. And I was like, oh, but you told me. And I start like getting super defensive. And ChatGPT is really good at being like, okay, take a breath with me now. What is this triggering in you? And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm having a memory from when I was 4 and my dad shamed me for being wrong and I got upset about it. And just like all of a sudden I realized I was acting like a 4-year-old in that moment. And I was like, but you, but you,
Mm.
but you.
Mhm. Isn't that
And
wild?
I was like, okay, yep, yep, that's where I'm at.
Wild.
Yeah,
This is why you have to learn to control you. You can't control other situations. You can't control people. You control you, then you control the situation in a way.
yeah. So that's where it's really important to understand too what's an alignment for you. So you can be discerning, so you're not people pleasing. So you can say, like with my dinner my friend wants to have, I can say, this dinner's not in alignment with me. And
The word
I'm,
is no, no.
yeah,
It's
right,
not-
right, right. And I've already kind of told her no a couple times, but she's still like, I'll check in with you on Thursday. Okay. The answer's still going to be the same, but okay.
and it's ooh. And it's also like and on the receiving end of no. Why does that bother us when people say no?
Right,
Why can't we respect that it's just not aligned with them?
right.
And why? Because again, a lot of people have not worked through whatever they got going on about hearing the word no. And for me, it's like I respect people now. No, you don't
Yeah,
want to hang out? Okay, cool. Does it hurt my feelings? In the beginning, yes.
right.
But I get over it really quick because I realize, oh, they just don't want to hang. I get it. It's nothing bad with me. They just, their vibe, their energy just doesn't align with who I am and what I'm doing. And that's
Yeah.
okay.
Well, yeah, and that's the big thing, right? Because if she would have texted me and said, "Hey, let's go to
Hmm.
dinner Thursday. I've got some other friends coming." I would have been like, "Okay, cool." But the
Right.
pressure wouldn't have been there, and then the energy would have been different. The alignment would have been different.
Mm,
And if him and I would hit it off organically, it would be a completely different thing. But when the pressure is, I want you to come to dinner because I want you to meet somebody because I think, he needs to meet somebody and, you guys have this in common or whatever, that's one thing. But
right.
doing it organically and allowing things to just happen and flow is a completely another. But it comes back to what you just said. That changes the energy
Hmm.
and it takes things in and out of alignment. So when you're not aligned with somebody, when you're not aligned with a situation, it flows completely differently.
Completely differently. And that's what people don't get. The energy shifts, the energy changes. And why do we always perceive things like this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is why? That drives me
I
crazy
mean, you're
too.
calling me out right now. So
I'm
it's
calling
always
myself out. Let's be real.
it's
I'm
always
calling both
right
of
and
us.
wrong, good and bad. Did I make the
Yeah,
right choice? Did I make the good choice?
right, right.
Yeah.
Trust me, I'm the same way. I'm the same way. So I keep reminding myself, everything is meaningless until you give it meaning. And once you
Yeah.
give it meaning, be very careful because now that is going to be your this equals this.
Mhm. Yep. And that aligns with control too because
Hmm.
I mean, if you guys are looking for a coach, Fran is amazing and I highly recommend
Thank
her.
you.
And I can't speak of all the things that she's made me realize enough, but I'm going to highlight another thing that you taught me. When I was looking at changing jobs,
Hmm.
I wanted to know what the outcome was going to be. Do I stay with the job I'm at? Do I go to the other job? Which one's going to be the right choice? Which one's going to be the good choice, the better choice? And Fran talked me into neither one is a good or a bad choice. It's just what lesson are you at? Where are you at in life? And I don't know, do you want to elaborate on that a little bit? Because I
Yeah.
think you do a really good job of explaining it.
I was like, well, what do you align to? Are you like, you know what the new the job you're currently in is making you feel? And clearly, I kept pointing out, I was like, you're not aligned to this, or you're not as aligned to this as you thought you were. And it's again, it's all about alignment. It's what's going to make you happy. What lessons are you ready to learn? New lessons? Are you ready to get out of your comfort zone? And no is okay too. Like I said, no is a great answer. Like if you're not, you're not. But for you, it was like, okay, Shannon, we can see you're not really happy here anymore. You know what I mean? You're not growing.
Right.
So would you rather go somewhere and grow? But again, the uncertainty, the control, all of that came into play. And you were like, I don't know. And then you did it.
Mm-hmm.
You were like,
And
nope, I'm going to take a, yeah.
it was a great choice too, because I did get to grow in different ways.
Hmm.
And I think that was the most impactful piece for me from that conversation was either way is right. It's just what's in alignment, because it comes down to
Hmm.
you can continue to keep learning this same lesson because you clearly haven't learned it yet. If you need to
Hmm.
stay someplace where you're not growing, you're not doing things, you still haven't learned it yet, or you can move on to something new. And I don't know, that's something I have repeated to so many people because it was that impactful to me in the moment.
Hmm.
And probably the reason why I made the decision that I made was, yeah, you're right. I am done learning this lesson. I am done repeating this pattern, and
Hmm.
it's time for something new.
Yeah. Same thing. And that can be utilized, that same lesson can be utilized in marriages. Like, are you in relationships, friendships, even family? Are you
Hmm.
growing with this situation? And it sucks. Sometimes you're gonna have to leave relationships because this is it. This is what we're doing. I'm not doing this for the next whatever amount of years. No way.
Right,
We're not staying here.
right.
And
And I
that's what
think that's
people
the
are scared
part.
to do. Hmm.
Yeah, I was just going to say that that's the part that people are afraid of. They're afraid to grow. They're afraid
Mm-hmm.
what change might mean. I remember my ex-husband towards the end of our marriage saying,
Mm-hmm.
why aren't you just content with the way life is? Because I don't want to go to the same restaurant and eat the same food every day. Like,
It's like I'm choking. Like I'm like,
right?
what?
That's how I felt. I felt suffocated. Like, I don't want to have the same life experience over and over and over again. I want to experience new things. I want to change. I mean, yeah, life can be, you can get content, but you can also get complacent.
Yeah. And too comfortable.
Yeah.
Oh, I almost wanted to vomit.
And that
I-
doesn't mean you have to make huge life changes, but that also doesn't mean that you have to stay doing the same thing
Mhm.
over and over and over. That's not what we're here on this planet to do.
No, no. And listen, if your partner or your family member or your friend doesn't want to change, it doesn't mean you have to stay in that relationship.
Right.
Maybe you need to minimize your time with that person. I know it's hard when you're married. Or like the best thing I ever did was go to therapy. And then I was changing and I was growing and I was understanding myself better. And then I didn't have to tell Matt to go to therapy. I said it maybe a couple times, maybe you should look into it. Maybe you should look into it. But then I let it go. He then looked into it and started going. And now we communicate so much better. And
Right.
it's made our relationship stronger for communicating and listening to each other about, oh, hello, Owen, and listen to each other about like what we want in our relationship, where we're at, like in asking, can like again, neither one of us are mind readers. I mean, maybe a little bit me, but the point is, I'm just kidding. The point
Maybe
is
more than a
like,
little bit.
oh, um, at least I ask for what I need, or he asks, and then we don't shame each other for saying, "Ew, I don't want to do that," or "No," like, you know what I mean? It just
Hmm.
comes down to, okay, I see where you're at right now. I can't deliver that right now. Can we table this for a few days?
Right.
Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. If I don't want to talk about something, if I don't want to do something, I'm not going to tell him no and let it go. I'm going to tell him no. Here's the reason why and table it. Now that makes him feel safe. It doesn't make him feel uncomfortable about asking me things. You know what I mean? Like our
Yep.
relationship was that was the path it was going down.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I love how we just kind of brought that whole thing full circle
Hmm.
too. As you started to make progress and work through change, you didn't try to control Matt. You didn't try to
Nope.
force him into it,
Mm-mm.
but he saw his own path as not changing. So he did something about it. And
Hmm.
that I think is the way life is supposed to be. It comes
Hmm.
back to the organically doing things and allowing things to just happen instead of controlling the situation. And that's perfect. That's a perfect I just love the full circle moment there.
Yeah. I mean, trust me, I tried in the beginning to get him to go to therapy. So don't get me wrong. I really did try to
Yeah.
like what people would think is forcing. But then I
Mhm.
said, back off, friend, back off, back off. Just let him see you change. And then like I would talk to him about my session that day. Like this is what I learned about myself. And then I would like put it into like a example for him and I. So
Mhm.
and so then it evolved. And then he started to be like, oh, okay, there's something to this therapy. So it's really interesting when you don't force somebody and you just show up and you keep doing it. People, I know we want things instantaneously, but it took probably about a few months for Matt to realize things
Yeah.
that, oh, wait, she is changing.
Yep. Well, and I think so therapy is a great example. I think there's situations too, like work examples, for example, that I
Hmm.
can think of just off the top of my head where even as I've tried to show up differently at work, I've seen
Mm.
other people reflect that back to me. And I think in the last
Hmm.
episode was a great example where I talked about a coworker who said, "Well, now I'm trying to understand why my behavior is okay if I'm doing the same thing she's doing and that's not okay." Little plug for our last episode if you haven't
Hmm.
listened, go listen. But it's when you start to make changes within yourself, when you start showing up for yourself and allowing yourself, other people take notice and they
Hmm.
want to start showing up for themselves too. And I think
Hmm.
that's the really cool thing that I've learned about life and this great experience working with Fran is just how other people organically show up for you when you start showing up for yourself. And they see that change in you and they want to see that change in them too.
Yeah. And like at first they may hate you for changing, or not hate you is such a strong word, but you get what I'm trying to say. You
Resent.
know, they resent, you know, but still, they're still watching you. They're
Yep.
still seeing that you're changing.
Yep.
It's just, it's really interesting when you stop forcing and stop controlling what actually happens. You allow the energy to move the way it's supposed to organically. You're not forcing it. You're not trying to get that guy to like you. You're not trying to have your friends or your family see your point of view. You just speak it and that's it. There's no convincing, there's no forcing, there's no pushing. It
Yep.
just happens. And that's how you see how amazing you are and how amazing your energy is and how you can alchemize anything. It's really cool.
It is very cool. It's, I don't know, it's been one of, so my sister wants, she's starting to work on
Mhm.
herself a little bit too. And just to see the changes in her already just from the one or two conversations we've had has been really cool. And that's kind of where my basis comes from on if you work on yourself, you can start to see the change in others too, organically as opposed to forcefully. So,
Yeah, because if people are meant to be in your life and you start changing and you start getting uncomfortable with things, and it's really interesting what happens to people around you. They either stay and watch you through it and change with you, or they leave. There's only two options because everything is energy.
yeah. Okay, so on that note,
Hmm.
so as I've been working on myself, my life has gotten very lonely, so to
Hmm.
say, just
Sure.
just as a way to word it. And I've noticed as I start to try to put myself back out there, I'm uncertain about it. Like, what do I talk about? Because my life has been so focused on my healing. And so then when I step back out and they're like, well, what have you been doing lately? journaling, reading self-help books. Like, it's like trying to interact with people again gets awkward because it's like I don't know that I want to
Well,
share all of this. I don't, but at the same
mhm.
time maybe I should be.
Think about it, okay? You're protecting yourself. You've
Yeah.
learned so much about yourself that you do not want anybody to
Disturb.
destroy what you got going on.
Yep.
But you need to learn too. And you need to,
Yep.
like, we're pack animals. We need to be around each other. And you're
Yes.
never going to learn or grow if you don't, like, I can't see my shadow, you can.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So, how I'm going to grow is by you coming into my life and doing something, triggering me. And triggers are not bad. See, you already, so first things first, you said you're lonely and you equate loneliness or being alone or feeling alone to negativity.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Let's break it down. See, that's funny. You got to break
Yeah.
every little bit down.
Yeah. Well, and so that's the thing, right? Is I'm getting so comfortable being alone that now I'm like, oh, but if I go back out, I'm going to be uncomfortable again. And so it kind of becomes a cycle, right? Where now it's like, well, now I'm just going to control myself by staying alone instead of putting myself back out there again, which I'm not. I mean, I went out Saturday
No,
night. I had a good time, but it was one of those things where it becomes that pattern of I didn't want to be uncomfortable. I got
right,
uncomfortable. Now I'm feeling comfortable again. That doesn't mean you stay there. That
right.
means now you have to put yourself out there again. And maybe you have to, and just like you said, get uncomfortable and grow again and challenge yourself in a different way. So that's what my challenge right now has been is getting uncomfortable around people again because now I've broken the uncomfortable being alone.
Yeah. Because you're going to get very bored by just staying alone. I mean,
Mhm.
okay. Excuse me, when I hear older women talk about being alone and not having a partner, they still are out with their friends and family.
Mhm.
They are still getting out of their comfort zones.
Yep.
So I just want people to be aware of that. But
Yes.
yes, you have to get back out there because you got to still grow. You're not like I had a person who came to me. I have older women at the shop I read at. I'm wearing, which please, in Beacon, New York, and I have a lot of older women. Like they're in their 80s. They come to see me, and they're all like, "But my life is over." I go, "But it's not. You're still." And so some lady goes, "You're right. I'm here, not here." And I go, "What is she talking
She's
about?
still
She's
upright.
not
She's
dead.
not.
She's upright."
Yep.
And I was like,
I
yeah,
love
you
that.
are. You're still learning. And she's like, I am. And like now she's thinking about starting a podcast and a TikTok. And she's 82. I'm like, go get it, girl.
Yeah.
You have to keep going. It's not like you stop and that's it. Like everybody and I know I had this idea when I was first getting married in like late 20s. This is it. This is gonna be my life. I'm gonna get married, I'm gonna have kids, and that's it.
Mhm.
That's what you're brought up and you're taught, especially for me. I grew up very Italian and that's what you're taught. But for me, it was like my mom always used to say, and she would drive me flipping crazy, even around Matt, like even with Matt. Well, aren't you going to stay home with your husband? I go, and do what? Well, you're not going to go out with your husband? No, I'm going to go out with my friends. I go out, I see him when we have our own, you know what I mean? It's like, why
Mhm.
can't we, like, why do we, like, it just drives me crazy. Sorry, we're
Yeah.
getting a little off topic, but
No. Yeah. Yeah. No. It just kind of felt like one of those moments where it was like, okay, sometimes we can control like we have to create that back to what I said at the very beginning of the episode. We
Mhm,
have to create that safe container. So you don't feel
mhm,
comfortable being alone. You sit with that discomfort, you become comfortable being alone, but then we can become complacent and get stuck there instead of sticking ourselves back out into discomfort again. Like
mhm.
that's kind of the cycle of life. Get uncomfortable, find the comfortable. Get uncomfortable, find the comfortable. Just don't get complacent.
And see, yeah, I heard this one person, and I was wondering why it took so long for him to ask his now wife to marry him. And he's like, "Oh, because I was comfortable, I was complacent. I didn't." And then after 9 years, he decides to marry her. And I'm
Mhm.
just like, I don't even know how their marriage is now, but like 9 years, you're gonna wait to marry her?
Yep.
He's like, "Oh, I was comfortable, I was content." That's the word he used.
Content.
So
Yep.
he didn't want to get married because he was content.
Yep. Yep.
I was like, what? What's the
Yeah.
point of getting married at that point?
Right.
That's the other thing he said. I guess I was leading her on. I kept leading her on, she said. I was like, what the So it's not just women, it's men too, guys. So just
Yep.
want to let you know.
Yes. So this was a really good deep dive into what
Mhm.
control and safety look like. Do you have any last closing remarks or anything? Any last thoughts?
No, just get okay with being a little uncomfortable. You don't have to get super uncomfortable. That's what happens when you don't face those stoplights and you have to face the big block at the end and
Yeah.
there's nowhere to go.
So yeah, feel
Just
the little intervals versus just waiting till the end and now you're in panic mode because you're about to drive off a cliff and you have nowhere to go.
yeah. It's really interesting because every trigger that happens, that's just an invitation to go inward. That's it.
Yeah.
Stop labeling is it a bad thing.
Right. Right. Because usually those little stops only last 30 to 90 seconds
Literally.
and you're good. So,
Yeah,
well,
90
thank you for
seconds.
joining us, guys. This was great. I enjoyed this topic. This is, like I said, this is something that's been coming up for me, and Fran is fabulous at guiding people through this stuff. So, like,
Thank you.
follow, share, subscribe, all the fun stuff, and feel free to get a hold of us if you have any topics you'd love for us to discuss.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Have a great
Bye.
day.